first guest on the podcast, Roey Stern. Thank you so much for being here. We're happy to have you. This episode is sponsored by Level Sportswear, the Rep Your Story podcast. I want to start off every episode the same and kind of get into a little bit of a conversation after that. But the first question that we always ask our guests, and we're going to ask our guests in the future, is what's your story? And I'm just going to let you take it and roll with it however you see fit.
Oh, first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. Honored to be the first guest. Well, what's my story? You can see on the flag behind you. I'm originally from Israel. I'm 24 years old. Came to the U.S. when I was 21 as a freshman at Marymount University. Started playing basketball at 5th grade. Played actually both soccer and basketball, but it's a lot different in the U.S. In Israel, you can't really play both sports. A lot of people play like two sports in high school. They're both on like a soccer team, like baseball team and stuff like that. But in Israel, the basketball days are on the same day as the soccer, so you gotta just like choose one. There's not enough, I guess, infrastructure and to do both in like the high level as a youth. So I chose basketball, liked it better. Played on Maccabi Tel Aviv's youth team. People that are familiar with European basketball, whenever you tell Maccabi, they're like, oh yeah, like one of the biggest clubs in Europe. Won the EuroLeague like 5 times, always in the top 8. Very rich club, has a lot of clout in Europe. So I grew up there, played there till I was 18. Played with some guys in the NBA, played with Danny Avdia and also with Dragan Bender. So I know a lot of people can say I played with 2 top 10 draft picks. Dragan Bender was kind of bad, to be honest. I know I got picked, but that's beyond me. The guy's soft. But after I graduated from high school in Israel, there's a mandatory military service, so I had to go to the military. Fortunately for me, I was part of the under-18 national team's roster. I didn't go to a European championship, but I was part of the best like 22, I think it was, kids that were on the team. So in preparation for that, they took care of my army service, so I won't have to go in a combat unit. So usually if you're healthy, they just be like, what do you want to do? You want to jump off a plane, get in a tank, special ops, like whatever you want to do. So for me, I got the option to not do it. My mom was really happy about that. I think my dad too. So I got to do some sort of supporting role. I was in the communications corps. The title was Sergeant of Communications and Electronics, which basically meant that I helped run a big, like IKEA-sized warehouse of electronics technological equipment in the mornings. I would come in at like 7 a.m., leave at like 2. Then I'll go to practice and keep playing. I kept playing in the 3rd division in Israel, which is semi-pro. There's a lot of good Israeli players in that league. The first 2 divisions have foreign players, so they count as professional league. The big thing why I went there is because I wanted to play. I could have gone to Maccabi's like pro team and be like a poster boy, but that's not something I was interested about. I would just get really bitter. I just wanted to keep playing. And in the 3rd division, you get a lot of options. For a young player, if you're not marked and like 6'9" and athletic, you're not gonna get a shot that easily. Coaches are really stressed. There's a lot of pressure for like the owners of teams, so they want results right away. Not a lot of teams are willing to go forward with like a process, building and like investing in young Israeli players. So that's the reason why a lot of good players go to the 3rd division. So that's why I went there and played there for the 2.5 years I started the military. And then at first I didn't even think about going to college in the States. It wasn't even something that was in my plans or my vision. I was just trying to finish out my service, like keep playing, like getting good numbers so I can get into one of the first 2 divisions eventually. Then I had one really good year, and I was working with a sports psychologist that was helping me out through the past 2 years and talking about what should be my plans for the summer. Where should I try and go to the 2nd division? Should I like stay in the 3rd division and like in a better team? And he brought up the option of going to the U.S. and try and get a scholarship. And he played soccer for a university in Connecticut. And he said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. And once he said that, like a spark lit in me, and I really started to go all out about it. Contacted some people to help me with my eligibility for NCAA, and Israeli guy that knew the. Apparently, there's like one person in NCAA that deals with kids from Israel that trying to get their eligibility. So unfortunately, he knew that guy, and he was able to help me get all the paperwork done. And I was still in the army at that time. I had like one more year before I will finish my service. And I studied for all the like SAT exam. I had to take that, and like the TOEFL, which is like English proficiency exam. Actually, when I was in the army, because that's where I had most times. Usually my days would end at like 11 p.m. because I would like go straight to practice and I had to drive. It's like different city. Kind of a hectic time, a lot of grinding time. Definitely time that taught me a lot. Gave me a lot of tools to handle stuff that came my way. A whole story of that year is also like a big story because I got hurt and had to do surgery before coming to Marymount. But I dislocated my shoulder 4 times in that like 3 months and had to play with a dislocated shoulder because I had to get film. We have recruited, updated film. And the first month of the season, I didn't really play well because I was scared for my shoulder and like just didn't really mentally adjust to being hurt. But then it was like kind of a do or die situation also with arranging surgery for the arm because once you're enlisted, you're basically the Army's property. So you can't just go and you can go and do private surgery, but it's gonna cost like a lot of money. But if you want to go for like the healthcare that you have with the military, it's like a whole process and like going to doctors and getting the right documentations and staying appointments. So it was also a lot of bureaucracy, and I did get a date for surgery that was December 2017, and I knew until December I had like that's all the time I had to get film. If I don't get like good enough games till then, it might not even be worth it because the surgeon said my recovery would be at least 6 months. So I was planning to be in visiting schools in the summer of 2018, which I did in the end, but I was planning to get enough time to recover and then go there and show my work. And I was able to get a lot of like 5 or 6 good games in, kind of mentally switch, even just play with it. It went out, went back in. I just didn't even think about it, just kept playing. Yeah. You can see in my highlights that I'm wearing this kind of like shoulder strap. That was just really weird. But fortunately it wasn't my left hand, so it didn't affect my shot whatsoever. So I was able to do what I do best, which is shoot the ball. And I think
so then
I got some good film from that.
How did you end up at Marymount?
So after I got discharged, I flew to Arizona. My family lives there. My uncle lives in Phoenix. And he's also a physical therapist, which is also really lucky for me and also like type of the plan that I had in mind. So I did my recovery over there and I started contacting schools. At first, the Israeli person that was helping me out was trying to get some D1 interest, but I was trying to get recruited for the class of 2018. Like I started that in like late March, April. Most of like the scholarships are already gone. So it's like really hard to secure a D1. But we get some D2 offers. They got me in the East Coast. And I also used the software called NCSA. It's a website, Next College. What's it called? Next
NCSA,
College to an Athlete. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was just a really cool platform because you can just contact a bunch of schools. So I just worked on writing emails. I would write like 10, 15 emails a day. Got a lot of responses, especially like D3 people were really excited because I had really good grades for the SAT. And I talked to the Marymount's Coach Rogers, after I emailed him, and he called me and I was like, "Are you sure you like send the email to the right Marymount? This is in Virginia, not like Loyola Marymount or Marymount in like California." I was like, "Yeah, I don't know any other Marymount. To be honest, I just saw your school logo and I saw you sign a deal with Under Armour." So I was like, that's pretty cool. So
that's enough for me.
Yeah, I was always for the gear.
Cool.
And I went on a visit after I recovered. I did PT every day. Then I went on a visit with the two D2 schools, one in New York, NYIT, Division II, and one in Connecticut, Southern Connecticut State, coached by Scott Burrell. Everybody's seen the Last Dance. He played with Michael Jordan like 1 year, a rookie guy. That's all he talked about in the visit, to be honest.
I mean, wouldn't
weird.
you? I would.
Yeah.
I mean, he just kept showing me pictures with Michael Jordan like he's on the team or something. But and they both offered me a scholarship, and I promised Coach Rogers I'll go. That was like my last destination, and I was kind of like, should I even go? It's D3 and I already got D2s, and I didn't really know, but I promised, and also I had never been in DC, so I wanted to come over.
Absolutely.
And I went and I stayed with Ryan Albert and met all the guys, met Brandon and everybody else. I played with them, and the level that I experienced at Marymount was higher than the D2s I played with. I played pickup over there with the guys, and they're just better, and they look like they're working harder to be better. And I'm also from Tel Aviv, which is a very urban city, and the other two schools were like, one was in the middle of the woods, and I just couldn't see myself in the middle of the woods, to be honest. Just a big change. And the Southern Connecticut State was in New Haven, but was like 2 turns from Yale. So you got all this beautiful Yale campus and stuff, and then you got Southern Connecticut State. Not to say it's a bad looking school. They had a really nice gym, but my dad told me just when I was debating where to go, he said, just think about, God forbid you get hurt again, and you're just a student, like what's the place you can see yourself in? And I had a gut feeling about Marymount, and I went for it. So that took me like 8 minutes. Not that long.
That's good.
You're good.
Yo, so talking about your military experience, especially, well, obviously in America, there's very few people who play college sports who are also active in the military, besides like the military academies in the school or in our country. When you say, obviously that training and everything you went through like prepared you for different things in your life and everything, but considering your athletic story, how much did like being in the military and being that experience can you take with you to your college athletics?
Oh, I think the first thing and the most important thing is just to like appreciate it a lot more and not take it for granted. The big thing about the military is I mean, for me, what had the most impact is how much freedom I lost while I got enlisted. Like I had to be there every day. It wasn't like it's not like school when you can just like, okay, I'm taking a cough. I'm not coming today. Like if you're not gonna come, they're gonna come get you and put you in military jail because you can't just not come. And you gotta cut your hair a certain way. You gotta like shave your beard. Like you can't really control any of that. So first of all, I just appreciate all the opportunities you get. Like especially being a student athlete, you can go to school and play basketball on a high level all together and just all accommodating each other. It's just something that just trying to go to practice that's at the Army would just be like hectic and just really hard to organize logistically and to endure it every day and like long days and stuff. So that's the first thing. Second thing, just also like from that like time management, knowing how to arrange my time, find ways to get extra work in and do the stuff that I need to do first, and then get it out of the way, which is like mostly the Army stuff. Like go there, make sure I get like my commander happy so I can leave even like 15 minutes early. That would be enough for me to get like extra shots before practice or stuff like that. So that was really good. And just I think grit. It just, all those long days and that Army experience, like wearing the same clothes every day, is just kind of like made me mature a lot quicker than I think I would have matured if I wasn't in the Army. Like I was always in kind of a bubble in Tel Aviv, like northern Tel Aviv is like a bubble of like, how would I don't know if there's like a good comparison in the US that I want to offend anybody, but it was just like a very, it's different than the rest of the country. So when I went to the Army, I met a lot of different people that had different backgrounds than me, and it taught me how to make connections with people that are totally different than me. And that definitely helps on a basketball team, especially if you're a D foreigner and you're coming in, you're trying to bond with guys, and you want them to like you. And want to play with you, and you got to find ways to connect with them. And so it also helped me out.
I got two questions that kind of coincide. One, what is the biggest difference culturally from Israel to the US? But then also after that, what is the biggest difference from a basketball sense? Like, how do they play over there versus over here?
Well, culturally, everybody in the U.S. are really PC and polite. Like everybody is courteous, and
And you
everybody
said
says
in
hi
the
in the
US?
elevator.
In the US they
Yeah,
are?
I mean here around compared to Israel, like everybody says like every time I walk in the elevator, everybody's like having a conversation with me. Like we know each other.
Oh,
They're
okay.
always like have a great day. I
People you
mean
know.
everything. I mean it's everything like on the surface is very like courteous, and everybody's like nice to each other, not trying to judge, not trying to offend. And Israel is totally different. It's a very small country. Like, the statistic I know is like it's a fifth of Arizona. So I don't know if that tells you anything, but it's like a borough in New York City, basically. And everybody knows everybody. So it's the first question might be how much money you're making this month. Like, question that you will not normally ask. And like, oh yeah, I know your cousin. I went to the army with him in this unit. And just the atmosphere there is so much different. You can tell with players that go over there to Israel, they just tell you just so different, because just being around that culture and everybody, how they're acting, just everybody's more open, direct. There's some stuff that how I act is just like natural for me, that I have to like a little tone down sometimes, because of the cultural differences. But I don't think it's something that you can sum up to words. It's just something you have to experience.
Yep.
I try my best for that. The second part of your question, basketball wise, I think it depends on the coach's philosophy. Like Marymount basketball is different than other schools basketball, but mostly it's a lot faster paced because of the 24-second shot clock. Usually,
Sure.
most of the teams run high pick and roll and play off that. That's how, and like transition offense, trying to get a quick look. Not a lot of, I would say motion offense, more like quick hitters, more like playing straight for the advantages, like, shooter plays, but all it's like really quick. At least where the coaches I play with, both in Maccabi and other teams I play with, a lot of ball screens. And when I came to the US, that was a lot different. It's about moving the ball, reading screens off the ball, not with the ball. I'm doing a lot of like off the ball screens, and I'm the ball handler, which is also an aspect of the game. If you can master it, you could be really good. That is incorporated also in European basketball, but also defensive wise, the fact that you can be in the paint, without 3-second call or something like that. And like, there's a much more awareness for like taking charges. And it's so evident if you're a player that comes in from somewhere else in the US and you come in your first game, you just run into like 3 people and get 3 offensive fouls, because like you're used to people just trying to jump with you and not just standing there and take the charge. I think that's the 2 biggest things that I've noticed when I came here.
Mm-hmm.
And then like this summer when I went back and I played with some of the Israeli guys I playing in like a first, second division, I could just tell like it's so different. Yeah, but again, it's all about how you it's not about how the basketball is played, it's about how you bring your skill set into what it is and make the most out of it. Like, you have your skills, and if you're a really good player, you'll be able to do well whatever system is being played. Like, you'll make the right adjustment. That's the mindset I try to go into with that.
Coming from your background, what would you say, like growing up playing basketball, like over here stateside, a lot of what drives athletes over here is either getting professionally, or a lot of the even quicker step would be like getting to that Division I college level. Like, that's a big drive in a lot of kids. So coming from the international route, especially how professional basketball is a little bit different, what would you say is one of the main things that really drives you as an athlete, especially like coming up as you were younger?
I think as I was young, is just playing for the pro team. Part of our like duties as the youth teams. I remember when I was in seventh grade, we were the ones that would clean we would like be the moppers like the EuroLeague games. So we would be on the court every Thursday cleaning like little people's slip or something, and we'd just be hanging out around the team and stuff. And the gym is packed like 20,000 people, and the fans are not, there's something else in Europe. Especially in Tel Aviv, it's like the best fans. It's like a soccer game, but it's basketball. It's just crazy, the atmosphere, and you just want to be there and like hear your name called out and playing. And to add to that, is just play for the national team, because that always just, you wanna get there, and especially in a small country like Israel, and knowing that you're on the national team, you're playing for your country is just, I didn't experience that in the youth team. I was really close, and I remember I was really excited when I was really close. So that's something that definitely drove me.
So what was it like? Like you said, you had D2 offers and you were looking at some D1s. What was that moment like when you finally realized that you're going to go Division 3? Because all three of us in here played Division 3, so we never got any scholarship money to play basketball. But what was that like, kind of in your head, and growing up as a kid, maybe not trying to play scholarship basketball in the U.S., but trying to play basketball for money? What was that like when you finally figured out that you're going to go D3 and the main scholarship you're going to get has to be academic?
Well,
like, were you sad? Were you pissed off? Or was it kind of like you came to terms with it?
If you ask me right now, I know I can play Division 1 basketball. Like that, in my head, I know I'm worth a D1 scholarship. We played some D1 schools, and there's definitely kids on those teams that I'm a lot better than. It's all about, time and situation. If I grew up in the U.S., who knows? If I started my recruiting process like a year earlier, who knows? I know some Israeli guys that went to Division 1s and just like did like a few semesters and went back for whatever reasons, but it's not like it's not possible to do. But looking at what the situation I had, I was just really happy I could like get offers after all this shoulder surgery I had, because I was really unsure if they're actually gonna like pull through and be able to come back and be like even better than I was before. And just I always feel like I come from the underdog spot, not like every time I play basketball. It's not I come into a team and I'm always like, he's the star right away. So it's like I have to build my way up from it. And it happened every team I've been on. I've never been marked from day one. It's like, oh, maybe except with my high school team, because then we won the national championship in high school. But that was just a team that from the first moment I got the confidence to be like the number one guy. But every other team is always the underdog feeling, and I related to the Marymount underdog feeling. But now I think it's different, and I think I helped make a change in that mindset. And also just being fortunate for the other skills I have. I was blessed with a sharper intellect than the average guy, and if I can do well on that field too and get the money from that, then why not?
Yeah, cool.
Do you have what would you say you're talking to? All right, let me set this standard. Say you're talking to a kid who's back home where you grew up, and he's down on the court wiping the court when the professionals are sweating, and you've been through this different experience because you did end up coming to America and going to a college experience. From that underdog perspective, like, what are you telling to that? What are you saying to that kid?
Start reading books in English. That's what my grandma told me when I was entering high school. She was like, here's a book in English, start reading in English. She didn't even know I was gonna. She just like, I want you to have like native speaking English. That's what I want you to have. And I actually got a lot of like social media DMs and stuff, because like they see me with the Marymount gear and stuff. All the pictures I post, they're like, wow, like this looks insane, and I want to do that. And it's not an easy thing to do, to leave your country and go all the way across the world and try to reinvent yourself different country, different society, and not just in basketball, but in everything. But I would say it's all about, how much you believe in yourself, because in the end of the day, nobody really knows, even if I'm telling you guys even if I tell you how I felt in those moments, like nobody knows exactly what I went through to get to where I am except for myself. So if you believe that you can do it, and you commit to do it, and you commit to doing what is necessary to reach that point, then you have a great chance to do it. And sometimes reality is gonna, knock you down, and it's something that you can't control. But I believe that I control my own luck, and if I work hard enough and I try hard enough and I believe enough, it will happen. So
beautifully said. Beautifully said.
I think that's
read books in English.
I think that's a great way to end it, because we're coming up on the 30-minute mark, and I want to keep these a little bit shorter. So, Roey Stern, Marymount University, senior point guard. Thank you for being our first.
Shooting guard now.
Oh, shooting guard
Ooh,
now. Oh,
yeah. Okay. Off the ball.
I took your spot, bro.
Yeah. Well, you got
I'm the guy. I'm the guy that shoots. Remember the game you shot 21 threes? Don't forget that.
It was 19. It was 19.
21.
You shot 19 threes in one game.
I was hoping that
we won in overtime in St. Mary's against what's his name? The guy that smoked weed all the time.
Brandon by himself shot.
No.
Threes
the guy from today.
No. Okay. So,
and he made the one to tie it and go to overtime.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, pass the ball, dude. What are you doing shooting 19 threes?
I was given the green light before the game. I was hoping this would never be made public.
Before the game, before you even board, you just came in with the green light.
Did you give yourself the green light, or was it actually given to you?
A coach who will not be named gave me the green light, I went in with that mindset. And every time I touched the rock, I was open.
It was going up, baby.
It went up.
Love that.
My goal is to shoot 22 threes in a game this year.
Yo, what number do you wear?
I wear number 1. Mike Anderson. Thank you for hosting me for Thanksgiving my freshman year. Never forget that.
American love. All right, Roy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being the first one on the podcast. We really appreciate it, and best of luck.
We'll see you this winter. We'll definitely be at some games.
Sounds good. Hey, Level Sportswear. Let's do it.
Thank you.